In today's lesson, we're going to go over angiosperm reproduction. And an angiosperm is basically a plant that has flowers. So, this is a typical diagram that you will see on tests and exams. This is a diagram of a lily flower. And we're going to go over the different parts that are involved in reproduction with this lily flower, what they're called, and the functions that they have. So, the first thing you need to know is about the petal. Normally, flowers have very vibrant or brightly colored petals, and the reason for this is to attract pollinators, such as bees, to come to the flower. This particular flower has both male and female reproductive organs. The first one we're going to talk about is the male reproductive organ, which is located right here, and this is called the stamen. You can remember this because the stamen ends in men. So sometimes flowers will have multiple stamens in one flower. On top of the stamen, we have something called the anther, which is in yellow. And the anther is where pollen is produced. Pollen is actually the male gamete of the flower, or the male sex cell of the flower. In the center of the flower, that's where we're going to find the female reproductive organ. It kind of looks like a tube-like structure. And this is called the pistil. And at the top of the pistil, we have something called the stigma. This stigma produces a sticky substance, and the job of this is to help trap the pollen, to bring the pollen down into the pistil so that it can fertilize what we call the ovary. And the ovary is where eggs are produced. And again, when that egg becomes fertilized with pollen, that's when we can make a seed. So those are the very important parts of the angiosperm and their functions for reproduction. I'm going to show you an animation that kind of shows the process that pollen takes to fertilize the ovary. So on the left, you'll see our lily flower, and it has some pollen on the anther. When a pollinator comes on the flower to drink nectar, that pollen gets trapped onto the pollinator. When the pollinator goes to another flower, that stigma produces that sticky substance which traps the pollen. The pollen travels down the pistil to the ovary where the egg is located. Fertilization occurs, and then the seed is formed. And those are the basic steps in which angiosperms reproduce.